Hola chamas y chamos, welcome back to Álvaro Dev Labs. Today we're gonna learn how to transform this scene right here in Blender into our Nuxt application by using the official TresJS Nuxt module. Oh my god, it looks so pretty with the lights. Look at the logo, look at the logo. 2 weeks ago, I was honored to be invited by Daniel Rowe at his live stream in Twitch, where we basically built the Nuxt module there live on stream. Well, to be fair, he basically did it himself. I didn't. If you want to check the live stream, you check the link in the description below. Also, I want to thank Daniel Rowe and the whole Nuxt Lab team, as well as everyone that was present in the live stream and in the announcement of the Nuxt module for all the support that you give to the TresJS ecosystem. You're awesome. Enough talk, let's code our Nuxt application. Okay, so here we have a brand new Nuxt application that I just initialized by using the npx nuxt init and then the name of my Nuxt application, okay? It's gonna be called nuxt-stone and it's gonna be available on GitHub at the end of this video, okay? So I removed the Nuxt welcome component, and what we need to do also is installing the packages, right? So to install the packages, we can go to the documentation here. And in TresJS.org, there is going to be a new page called Nuxt, where all the instructions are here. Okay, so we are going to use this exact command to add the dependencies. So let's go to the terminal here and just add npm install. Then we need to install tree, and then we are going to put TresJS, but instead of installing the core, we're going to install Nuxt. Okay, and then if we want to use TypeScript, just use types tree and put it as a development dependency. So next thing will be to add it to the Nuxt config. So here we can add modules and then pass an array. And inside of the array, we're gonna add TresJS Nuxt. Let's click save. It's gonna restart the Nuxt application. And now we can test if it actually worked. So let's go to the app.view and we are going to add the TresCanvas component. So the TresCanvas is the main component on the TresJS core and is the one that is going to create the DOM element of the canvas and take care of the render and such. I'm not going to go so deep in how to use TresJS because that's why I have a series of basics videos on the YouTube channel. So make sure you check them before you check this video. For today, I'm just going to use it straight away. So I'm going to pass here a window size property. So it takes the whole window. And then I'm going to add a Tres perspective camera. As well, I'm going to add a clear color. In this case, I'm going to add black. So now we can see that it's actually rendering the scene because we have a black scene right here. Now let's add some objects inside. If you have already worked with TresJS, you can immediately notice something new. And it's one of the advantages of creating a Nuxt module because we didn't have to import the TresCanvas component in the script tag of our app.view. Is auto-imported by Nuxt. So in the Tres module, you can expect all the components as well as the composables of the ecosystem be auto-imported by the module. Now let's add an object. So inside here, I'm gonna create a Tres mesh. And inside of it, we're gonna use a sphere geometry. So Tres sphere geometry. I'm gonna let the defaults inside and we're gonna use Tres normal material like this. So the TypeScript is telling me that this doesn't exist. So it's probably Tres mesh normal material. Okay, nice. So let's click save and see our scene. So we have our sphere right here. I'm going to add the Tres grid helper. So we have a better look on how the scene is done. So here we have the grid. But we cannot drag or navigate the scene because we need the orbit controls. So we will need to import the orbit controls from the cientos package. But how do we use the cientos package with the nuxt module? Well, all you need to do is basically open the terminal and install the TresJS package.
Three days later.
Once it's installed, restart the server. And then let's try adding the orbit controls. So just below the Tres perspective camera, I'm gonna add orbit controls like this and click Save. Now we can check that the orbit controls has been successfully added, but how the nuxt module managed to out-import it? And it's because the nuxt module will check what packages from the TresJS ecosystem you installed in your package.json and will automatically import all the composables and components from them. So that means that if you want to add another module, for example, the post-processing one, you just need to install it. How amazing is that? So now you understand why I was so hyped about the nuxt module. So if you already have used it before, for example, if we want to animate this sphere, okay, let's create a script tag right here. Lang ts, and then, for example, setup, okay? We have seen that it works with the components, but let's check the composables. So we are gonna pass to the mesh quickly a sphere ref or a template ref, okay? We're gonna say sphere ref equal ref, okay? And then we are gonna use or deconstruct a composable called use render loop to use the callback of the on loop to animate, okay? So here inside, we're gonna say, hey, if there is a sphere ref value, just, I don't know, animate the position. So sphere ref value, position y is equal to mad sin, and then elapsed. So elapsed is one of the parameters of the on loop. Let's see if this actually works. So yeah, as easy as that, we are using a composable without having to import it. So we can animate all the sphere right away. So you look how clean the components become. And that's one of the things that I like about Nuxt, that it makes so enjoyable to work and everything is so clean. Okay, it's time for the most interesting part, which is exporting this model that I have in Blender. So the model consists in a big stone, okay, and several smaller ones. They had been hand painted, so I created textures, and I also carved this logo, the Nuxt logo, into the stone. I create these orbs, like light orbs, that create like a cool effect, okay? And here are the logo itself for the material, the emission material, and these are the orbs with the same one. Okay, so I need to export these two and the whole stones, okay? I already did because the process is a little bit complicated. So I create the .glb and two textures or two baked textures for the stone, okay? The way you can do it is going here into files, for example, and say export, and then export it as a GLTF, okay? You click here, you're gonna be able to select GLB, which is good, is the most efficient one, or the GLTF, which is the embedded one. In this case, I already exported, so let's see how we can bring it into the Nuxt application. Going back to the code, I save all those files in the public directory in the Nuxt application so we can easily add them. And I'm just gonna create a new component. So a fancy way of doing it is using Nuxi. So I'm gonna use Nuxi component and I'm gonna call it stones. So I don't have Nuxt installed. I can use npx nuxt add. Okay, and that should create a component here called stones. Perfect. So inside of this component, what we are gonna do is import two things: the model itself, the GLB file, and the textures, and then we're gonna apply them. So if I go to the app view, I'm just gonna remove the sphere. We're not gonna use it anymore, and I'm going to use suspense, and then I'm gonna add the stones component inside. Why I'm using suspense? Because we're gonna use some composables that are asynchronous. So we will need to use it like that. I'm gonna import the stones from, well, I don't need it because this is Nuxt. That's what I love about Nuxt. Okay, so stones here. We remove this part, we don't need it, and also we don't need the styled tag. And what we're gonna do is just import the model. So to import the model, we're gonna use something called use GLTF. So const asyn model equal to await use GLTF, and we're gonna pass some parameters. The first parameter is the route or where we have our model. So in this case, it's public. We don't need to put this, but let me just use like that. We can remove the public, okay? It cannot find it, but it will find it because it's inside of the cientos package. So right now, let's just console log it, okay? And we are gonna console log the model. Let me just refresh. Here we're gonna have a group, and this group is gonna have all these children. So if we look inside of the children's, we are gonna notice that the same objects that we have here in Blender, the logo, the orbs, and the stones, are available in these groups. So in this case, for example, this is a mesh, that is the orbs, okay? We can check another one, for example, this one, and this is probably gonna be one of the stones. So we could go and say here, use a primitive, and just pass the object of the model, like this. If we click save, now we have something in the screen, but it's actually pitch black, right? So I'm going to change the color here for the clear, like the background of the scene. I'm gonna put like a lighter gray, and you're gonna notice that we do have the we do have the model, and here is the logo, but we actually can't do anything with it because it's pitch black. So how we can fix that? I added some properties to the Tres perspective camera so we can have a better look of the model itself. So feel free to copy them. There are these ones, and I also set it to look at the center of the scene. So what we need to do next is that we are loading one model, okay? But we have several textures. We have the big rock, and then we have the little rocks that have a different one. So to do that, we will need to separate the object model, which is a group that contains several meshes, into individual meshes. The easiest way to do it is that the use GLTF will return not only the scene of the complete model, but also the nodes. So if we go to the inspection mode and we console log this here, we're gonna see that now it prompts an object with the different meshes. So we have the logo, we have the stone and the different small ones, and also the orbs here and the logo. So what we're gonna do is create a separate primitive for each one of these parts and assign the textures to them. So let's just hide the console here and import the textures. So to do that, we're gonna use a stone baked texture. We're gonna create a new variable and use the use texture composable. This composable is also asynchronous, and we're gonna load from public the rock baked. Since we're using Nuxt, we don't need to put the public at the beginning, okay? And then we need to create a material. So we're gonna create a new variable called stone baked material. And we're gonna equal to new mesh basic material from tree. And we are gonna pass some parameters. The first parameter that we're gonna pass, well, the only one actually, is the map. And the map is gonna be the stone baked texture, okay? Then we need to assign this material into the node that we're gonna use. So to see the first node, the stone, let's pass it to the primitive here and see what happens in the scene. So right now is nodes, okay. So this is the big stone, okay, it's along here. And then we're gonna take that stone, material, and we are gonna equal to the new material right here and see what happens. So now we can see that it applied the texture, but it looks wrong. These are like the shadows, the baked shadows, but it doesn't look like the UV mapping is according to the texture. We actually need to flip it because, yeah, I don't know why. So in the stone baked texture, before applying it to the basic material, you need to do flip y and equal to false. Once you do that, it looks better, but we still have this black hole here, and we have some black spaces here. But that's okay, because this part right here is gonna contain another mesh, okay? So to get that mesh, we are going to do the same that we did for the nodes, where we're gonna do nodes stone carved, okay? And this is gonna have the exact same material. To put it on the scene, we need to copy and paste this one here, probably on top, okay? And just pass the stone carve. What did I did wrong? So stone carve. Oh yeah, we need to set it to material here. And now we have the correct mesh with the material. That's nice. The reason is because I needed to carve the Nuxt logo into the mesh. So I didn't want to mess up the whole rock just by creating this. So I create a different mesh, I separate the mesh and just added the carved there. Now let's add the little rocks that are just aside. So to do that, we're gonna open the console log again, and here we can see that all the stones, all the small ones, are named the same, stone and a suffix with a number. So we need to loop around them and select the nodes that has a stone plus a number. So to do that, we're gonna go here and say const little stones. And we are going to just iterate the values of the nodes. And we are going to filter the nodes by their name. So node name, and it has to include a stone 0, 0. We can also do it with the start with, but I think this is okay. So stone, yes, stone 001. So let's see what happens if we console log this part here. So log little stones. So node name include. Why? Let me refresh. It's not a function. Object values. Oh, and Okay, I know what is wrong. It's a typo. I needed to put includes. So now we do have the stones here. We have 4, so it's correct. And the names are stone001. Okay, awesome. So for this one, we also need to import another texture. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this one and just put a different name like little stones, little stone baked texture. So if we go to public and then it's called little rocks baked, be careful by the double here. We also need to flip it. So flip y false. And then we're gonna create another material which is called, actually I'm going to do this a little bit more organized. So I'm gonna go here and say the texture. Then I'm gonna move this here. We're gonna call this part here big stone, and this one is gonna be little stones. Okay, we can remove this. We're not gonna need it anymore. So we do have the texture, so we need to create the material, and it's gonna be the same as before, little stone baked material equal to new mesh basic material. And we are gonna pass a map, and this map is gonna be this texture right here. So we need to apply it to each one of the small or the little stones. So what we're gonna do is go little stones for each, and for each stone we are just going to stone material equal to this material right here. Okay. This is complaining about something. Just this, right? Okay. So now we need to add them into the scene. To do that, we're gonna use as well primitive, but in this case, we're gonna iterate the array of little stones. So it will be a stone in little stones, and the object is gonna be each one of the stones. Okay, we need to close here, and if we save, we're gonna have the stones here, but they're pitch black. Why? Let's remove the public here. Okay, what's that? So now we have all the stones in the scene. Perfect. Next step is gonna be to add the emissive logo and the orbs to create that light effect. Now, for the last section of this tutorial, we are gonna add the logo. So the logo is gonna be pretty easy. If we check the nodes, we're gonna see that we have 2, the logo and the orbs here. So let's add them by using primitives for each one of them. So we are gonna do object and then nodes logo. Click save. So now we have a white logo here. That's nice. And then primitive object, and we're gonna pass nodes orbs. I need to put an end of that file, so that's good. No, orbit controls, no orbs. Okay, let's refresh. And now we have the orbs here. Nice. So, but they look kind of plain, like they look white, and also they don't shine, right? So one way we can do this is by changing the emissive intensity of each one of them. So I'm gonna go into the materials, and you can access as well the nodes, the materials by deconstructing from the use GLTF. So I'm gonna add them to the console log so you can take a look of what materials are in the scene. And here we're gonna see that there is the rock light. Okay, this is the one that we're gonna modify. So let's go just below here and say materials, rock light, emissive intensity equal to 10, for example. Now you're gonna see that actually the emissive was so strong that it looked white. So right now it has the original color, but it still doesn't look like emissive. It's no glowing at all. And for that, we're gonna need to add an effect in the effect composer called bloom. We could implement this effect manually, but I have a good news for you, is that we are working on a package, it's right now in beta, for post-processing. So let me show you. If we go to the terminal again, let's install TresJS post-processing package. Click enter.
1 week later.
Now make sure you restart your server because it needs to create again the Autoimports for that specific package, as it happened with the cientos package. So if we go to app, just below the stones, we can add an effect composer. So the effect composer is a new component that is bring from the post-processing package. And inside of it, we're gonna use the bloom effect pass. So if I click save, now you're gonna see a weird thing, is that the orbs itself, they look like super shiny, but the ones inside of the material, they don't look like that. And it's because we are gonna need to pass some parameters into the bloom, so it looks a little bit more natural. Here inside, I'm going to pass these parameters. So it's basically luminance threshold. So the threshold to get this effect. If we want a more realistic or like Unreal, the bloom that is available in Unreal, the intensity of it, and the blend function if you wanted to add it, multiply it, those kind of things. This one we can import it from tree itself, so it's gonna be like import from tree, but the rest is Autoimport. Tree doesn't have a blend. No, the blend function is from the post-processing package. My bad. Okay. So we need to pass those parameters into the effect that we have here. So we're gonna use bbind and pass it here. And with that, we're gonna have a more subtle effect into the orbs and the logo. Okay, last but not least, we can add a nice effect into it, because when it glows, it will not glow constantly all the time in the scene, but we actually can make it fade in, fade out, more natural. So for that, we can use, we can remove this here and say const on loop. We're gonna use the use render loop again. And in each one of the, I'm just gonna copy and paste it because I'm lazy. So what we're gonna do is use on loop, and then we're gonna use the lab set time to create the animation. And we're gonna do materials, rock light, emissive intensity, and to make it fade in, fade out, we can use a sine wave. So let's use math sine. We're gonna pass the lab set, and we're gonna multiply it by some values, because if I put it here, you're gonna see that it's way too strong, so it goes down into pitch black and then it goes up. So we need to tweak that until it looks good. I already have the values that I use. It's normally multiplying by a value and then adding another one. So this is gonna multiply the amplitude of it and then move it 7 on the offset, and that will make it just go between teal, green color without going to black or anything like that. And with this code, you can achieve a really nice looking scene. It looks like a video game asset, to be fair. That was the idea. And you can create these smooth animations to make it glow. Let's take a look on the final scene. So we are having a trace canvas, a perspective camera, orbit controls. We create stones component with primitives. We divide the stones or the model into different nodes, and also in different materials. We tweak them and we added the textures into it. And then we added some post-processing effects into the scene to make it a little bit more interesting. And that's how you add 3D to your Nuxt application by using the official TresJS Nuxt module. You can find the code for the repository here in the link in the description below. As always, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and comment in the section below so we can continue feeding the gods of the YouTube algorithm. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.